Strait of Hormuz Standoff, Recession Risk, Sanctions Fatigue, and Global Pushback. Flint West reporting. Section 1. Thesis. 94 days. 94 days into the Strait of Hormuz crisis. And what started out looking like a military confrontation is beginning to reveal itself as something much bigger. Because this isn't just about missiles. It isn't just about Iran. It isn't just about Trump. It's about power. The United States can still project military force. It can still impose sanctions. It can still pressure allies. But the real question is, how long can it absorb the economic and diplomatic costs that come with doing so? Because while Washington is applying pressure abroad, the pressure is starting to build at home. A fragile energy market, a rapidly shrinking strategic petroleum reserve, and foreign buyers slowly backing away from U.S. treasuries. What we're watching is a military confrontation evolving into a test of economic endurance in a multipolar world. Section 2. Grounding. Since late February 2026, following U.S.-Israeli strikes on Iran, commercial traffic through the Strait of Hormuz has effectively collapsed. And that's a problem. Because this isn't some obscure shipping lane most people couldn't find on a map. This is one of the most important energy choke points on Earth. Normally, roughly 20 to 25% of global seaborne oil moves through this corridor. Around 20% of global LNG as well. Yet as of June 1st, only a handful of vessels, often 4 to 10 per day, compared to roughly 95 to 140 under normal conditions, are moving through the strait. Insurance costs have exploded. Threats remain. Mines remain. And the ceasefire that exists is less a solution and more a pause button. Section 3. Catalysts. The first problem is energy. WTI crude is sitting around $88 to $94 per barrel. That's still below the $125 level that economist Mark Zandi identified as potentially recessionary. But don't get comfortable. Gasoline prices remain elevated around $4.30 to $4.60 per gallon. And according to Moody's models, the U.S. economy is already uncomfortably close to recession territory. Why? Because lower and middle-income consumers are getting squeezed. Real disposable income is flat, in some cases falling. And when consumers stop spending, the economy starts coughing. This content is brought to you by Bobby Giggs. Promote your brand here and reach a wide audience across platforms like YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Follow the links in the description to get started. The second problem is the SPR. The Strategic Petroleum Reserve has fallen to roughly 365 million barrels. Weekly drawdowns reached 8 to 10 million barrels during May. That's not a long-term solution. That's a bridge, and every bridge eventually ends. The third problem is global pushback. Japan and China alone led more than $138 billion of Treasury selling during March 2026. Countries are defending currencies, funding higher energy imports, reducing political exposure, and increasingly exploring alternative payment rails, including RMB settlement channels connected to strait-related trade. Section 4. Real-world stakes. Now here's where things get interesting. The Trump administration has drawn a very clear line. No Iranian tolls, no joint Iranian-Omani tolls, unrestricted transit, nuclear concessions, end of discussion. That's the position. And to enforce it, Washington is leaning on sanctions, naval power, and pressure campaigns. But power has limits. Territorial waters exist, shadow fleets exist, alternative payment networks exist. And not every buyer in Asia is eager to volunteer for America's geopolitical objectives. The longer this drags on, the bigger the bill becomes. Higher borrowing costs, alliance friction, political fallout, and potentially a very uncomfortable midterm season. Section 5. Contextual clarity. This is not a simple contest between America and Iran. It's a demonstration, a live demonstration, of what power looks like in the 21st century. The United States still possesses extraordinary military reach, extraordinary financial infrastructure, extraordinary influence. But influence is not the same thing as control. And increasingly, the world is testing where that boundary actually sits. Iran gains time. Iran gains leverage. The world pays higher energy costs. America burns strategic reserves. And everyone discovers where the limits really are. The cleanest solution remains the same today as it was 94 days ago. Reopen the strait. Avoid tolls. Find a diplomatic off-ramp. Because without one, this crisis risks becoming something larger than an energy disruption. It becomes a self-reinforcing cycle of recession risk, sanctions fatigue, and global pushback. And whether Washington likes it or not, the clock is still ticking. Flint West signing off.